Hi, I'm Nana, and welcome to my channel. So today I'm hosting a discussion about development. I'm talking to a few brilliant individuals who are studying development here at the LSE to get their perspectives on how development is working on the continent, what are some of the things that could be improved, and what they hope to see in the future. So I hope you guys stay tuned for this discussion because it was so interesting and stimulating. Please stay tuned, enjoy.
I've heard a lot about development and developing Africa and what Africa needs, but I didn't actually know what was being done.
So my dad did development studies as well, so we always had conversations about the way we can basically improve Rwanda. So I kind of always knew the moment I went into my bachelor's that I wanted to do development studies.
Firstly, I'm very passionate about development. That's how I got into it, but I'm from South Africa. And so I think if we don't choose development paths, economic development paths that aren't environmentally sustainable, we're going to run into a big problem pretty soon.
My mom is in development. She's trying to do a lot in the healthcare sector in Nigeria. So I've been helping her since as long as I can remember, and I've always found it really interesting.
And I took a class called Development Economics. It was a disaster. I had never done so horribly in a class, but I learned a lot from the class. So then I was like, oh, actually, this is something I could do. I actually didn't know that you could study development in that way.
It's our mission, and if you're serious about developing your countries, like me, you have to be invested and learn as much as we can and go back home.
Welcome. Thank you. Alright, so we've spoken about this a little bit, but before you started studying development, what are some of the things that you thought it would be? I know personally for me, when I think about development, I think, wow, there's all these people going to change the face of Africa, and Africa's going to rise and reach its full potential, but it hasn't happened yet. So how do you guys feel about that?
I don't know. I feel like I got into development because I was thinking, why is this not happening? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And I feel like it's really easy for people to be like, oh, it's because of the politicians, and politicians are crappy. Mm-hmm. So, and that feeds down everywhere else. But I didn't feel like that made sense because I know there's so many people itching for change that the fact that it hasn't happened has to be based on more than what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? It's easy to point blame at somebody. Be like, oh, okay, well, which is part of the reason why. Another one of the reasons why, because I was like, okay, if you study development and they talk to you about all these policies that people should and shouldn't be doing, maybe it'll be easy for you. If it's the politics, then you can fix the politics and then everything will be fine. Right? But you can't fix the politics. As I've gotten here and I'm listening to people speak, it's like, wow, actually, I thought it was simple, but I was a bit stupid for thinking it was simple because it's really not.
I agree with you. I think for me what kind of not discouraged me, but you get to a point where every week it's just hurdle after hurdle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we had the talk the other day where someone came to talk to us the way we could develop African countries with entrepreneurship and businesses, and it sounded so good. And I was like, yes, this is possible. But then when you step back, it's this idea that, I don't want to say this neoliberal view that the market fixes everything. Let's just put faith in all these things. And like you were saying, and then it becomes so many different problems. I did econ undergrad, and when you start talking to people from different disciplines, then you're like, oh my god, I didn't think of this, I didn't think of this. And so I think what I've gotten out of this so far is the fact that it needs a lot of work together rather than people coming in and I'm going to do this and focus on economic growth. I'm going to focus on the political economy, whatever. But I don't know, it's not as easy. If it was easy, I think we would have had to
We would have figured it out. I think there's so many parts that plays, and I think the most important part is involving those countries that you want to develop. And I feel like there's a lot of mishaps with that, because a lot of our first term was learning about African political economy and going through what was happening between from independence, pre-independence, all the way to 2000 and stuff. And then you start realizing how some of these, institutions have come about and imposed conditions on Africa. And then obviously they said, oh, it's the end of like the conditionality era. But then when you start looking at what's going on right now, you can kind of still see the same policies coming back, but just with different names and different faces, and it's just different institutions, because they've multiplied since 1990s. They've had so many new NGOs and so many new groups that are, like continents like Africa have to like know and like play with, and it's like there's so many new players that it's not the same as before, but it's exactly the same as before.
Yes. But it's still in the same kind of general area.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we still define development in the same way it's always been defined, right?
Yeah.
It's still the same economic measures, while I feel like the world's moved beyond that. We're beginning to recognize that welfare and happiness and health and whatever, that's all important. And on paper it's important, but that's not what we consider when we talk about development.
So when does a developing country become developed? You know, are there any cases of that? Have we seen that in real life? Any success stories?
China.
Well, and I mean, Ghana's known now as like a middle income country, so it's getting. I mean,
but the thing is,
what? Yeah, I don't know what it means to be developed, because there's still some aspect of China that people are like, you know, and there's still some aspect of Ghana that people are like, no, this is like still a third world country because of this, that.
Yeah.
But it's like, it depends who's looking at it, and you know, are we looking at it politically, you know?
Yeah, but it all comes down to the fact of the measures. Like when you look at GDP, when you look at all these things, the World Bank is going to release a report, and there's going to be the like, do you know what I mean? It all comes down to the numbers. And I think it's very hard because, like, for example, the East Asian countries that became developmental states and now are developed, it's like there's this idea that there's a path that we have to follow, and that's why all these conditions.
I have a problem with that, because to be honest, I was talking about this in seminar yesterday. How African countries are always used against the East Asian tigers as, look, they did it, right? So if we follow that, then you also you will get there. But that's not necessarily the case, because a lot of times people will look at the case studies without looking at the preconditions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we were talking about like industrialization and how the East Asian tigers did a lot of development and there was a lot of internal and external policy, and you're talking about a mixture of FDI and internal policy. Federal direct investment. Foreign direct investment. Yeah, right. But when you're talking about it like that, it sounds like, you see, Africans, they're not doing this. But then, if you roll back just a little bit, foreign direct investment in the East Asian countries, it was coming from the U.S. Does that make sense? They didn't have to worry about that. So then you have internal conditions where you can focus on your own internal growth, and that allows you to develop. African countries were not getting FDI like that. Does that make sense? So then you're waging a war on two fronts, which creates different preconditions to the countries that you're saying, you see, they did it, but you can't. But you can't compare it that way when they're two different structures.
But in terms of leadership, definitely, I don't think we can ever stop saying that it's colonialism's fault. It doesn't help. We say we have to look forward, whatever. When the vacuums they created when they left is exactly what's responsible for tribalism and for racism in many cases, and so not acknowledging that isn't really going to help.
We were talking about this last week when we were doing domestic resource mobilization in African development class. The fact that when you look at, for example, FDI in like some countries like South Africa and countries that have minerals, they take advantage of the fact that they could, the private companies come and take all these minerals and sell them at a higher price outside, transfer pricing, all that stuff. But then what me and my friend Esther were talking about is the fact that, like, I think even Laura brought it up, like the problem of expertise that we don't have. Like, there's still, if it comes to like even bargaining and trying to make a deal, we don't have those expertise to go, and we don't have any leverage per se. And I think it also comes back to what we were talking about yesterday, if we should kind of return or find ways in which we can contribute to the continent without, you know what I mean? And it's like,
So
you have,
is it the way that you would want to be a representative in the West and then use your expertise to enact policies?
right, it could be both, you know what I mean? Because we have to, like, I think it's good that we're studying here. I think that it's good that we're understanding how political, the sphere here works, because we have, like, in order for you to bargain with the West or bargain with the developed countries, you need to understand how they work.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing, like, there's a gap in people who, I don't know, I think there's just a gap that people who are, like, for example, in Rwanda or the African countries, we can't get to that place of bargaining because we don't.
We're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, we're at a disadvantage, so we need to. But the good question is, how do we get?
We have bargaining chips. See, and that's mostly in the fact that we have the fastest growing population in the world, and in 20 or 50 years, the world isn't going to have labor, and Africa is going to have it. And that's I think that's going to be one of the biggest bargaining chips.
Yeah, for sure. Are you guys optimistic about the future of development? Are you optimistic about the way things are going?
No. I'm optimistic that if something changes in the way things are going right now, that it would lead to growth for everyone, especially Africa. But if we leave it in the way it's going right now, I don't think the result that we want will be the result that we get. Yeah.
I'm an optimistic person, but I think
I'm really pessimistic on this. I was a lot. The thing is, I was a lot more optimistic when I came in because I was like, it can't be that hard, guys. Listen, LSE's gonna teach me stuff. I'm gonna change it up. That's not true. I feel like there are a lot of external things that I was not aware of, and it's not just us internally, but it's people. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's the way the world is connected. We, as a continent, have become an extractive resource. Does that make sense? The world gets what they need from us, and I'm not sure why, but it seems as though there has been very little resistance, which over time has made it more difficult. Do you see what I mean? So, like, for me, one of my biggest pet peeves, now that I've learned about it in school, is aid.
Oh, yes.
Always.
Don't give me aid.
Always.
Let me trade.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Nice.
Don't. I know. Poetry.
Don't give me aid, let me trade. Yeah.
In terms of, you can't say, okay, this is the analogy that I use when I describe my frustration. You've come, you've burnt down my house, and you are offering me planks of wood and trying to tell me how to design my house. Get out of my way for a second. Let me figure it out, and if I need your help, I'll come to you. Does that make sense? Like, there's so many Western conditions put on, okay, we'll give you aid, but we want this aid to be spent like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. In ways that fundamentally maybe we don't need just yet.
That a lot of countries or a lot of people claim that a lot of aid is given to African countries, but if you actually look at the amount of aid that's given every year, it's
We're not given that much.
No.
The thing is, South Korea was given more foreign direct investment in the time that it was developing, and the whole of the African continent was given aid. In the same time period, in the article I read, I think it was over 5 years, South Korea was given $31 billion. So the whole of the African continent was given to it.
Oh, I've been raising my hand. Sorry. I was going to say, what do you say to those people that said, well, it's not aid's fault, it's a mismanagement of aid? Like, because they see, like, you know, for famines and droughts and all of these war, aid has been, I mean, there's statistic that says aid has really helped and has pushed.
I actually agree with you, because when I did my managing humanitarianism class.
Teach a man to fish.
No, listen. I kind of agree with it, because we did like this class last year, and we sat in a room, and my professor was like, this is going to be uncomfortable, but think of a world without the UN.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like aid, you know, bash it, but at the same time we can't ignore the fact that it has helped. And there are people today, if aid went, like we're privileged to be here and we have a life, but there are people who would actually not get by without aid.
Yeah, and all I wanted to say on that was, like, obviously I have a problem with certain, like you need to differentiate what type of aid we're talking
Yes.
about. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not old aid.
No, it's not
Right.
all aid. No.
Humanitarian aid is
Humanitarian
what you
aid,
need to do.
exactly. And the thing is, that's the designated purpose of
Yeah.
it. So I agree with humanitarian
But
aid, especially in
humanitarian
the
aid has kind of also
yeah, I know, but to an extent,
But to an extent, it's
It's
done
done
more
right.
than the other aid.
Right.
yeah, it's done in relation to like what I don't agree with is okay. Like you have aid or so like USAID will say
Right.
we're gonna give you some aid that we put into your budget every year so that you can do A B C D E F G. So we'll give you education aid, brother. That educational aid is not educating anybody except for the corrupt politicians at the top. You get what I mean?
Like we were talking about this the other day. It's like countries that have been able to sustain like policies and the fact that they've like the idea of what development is to them are countries that have like one party states. You know what I mean? Like if you look at
Okay. No, I've heard
and
this.
I'm like, and it's like, I'm trying to.
No,
I'm about to agree with you. So I'm about to agree with you so hard.
Because Kenya's a dictator.
Listen, I personally, I am tired of all this bantering.
I'm not even saying I agree or disagree. I'm just stating.
Finish. Let it come out.
I'm saying that it becomes so hard. And even like, for example, even if you look at like the U.S., the two parties just when one comes in, they take over what the previous person has done. But I think the difference with them is that their constitution is so strong that the damage is not that much, and our institutions aren't that strong. It's like when one person goes into power, and the problem with also one-party states, it could be great if all the leaders have the same ideas.
Yeah.
But the moment someone who's crazy comes in place,
Then it's
then
everything's
boom, right?
The whole entire table turns.
You're like, that's the risk that you
It's
run.
just like it's like, but then they're the ones that have been successful, and it's just anyway. I guess that was.
That one point.
No, go
Okay,
ahead.
go on.
Like no, but the thing is, for me, I feel like in a lot of places the institutions are not strong enough for us to be bickering about all these things. Does that make sense? And some people take advantage of that chaos to do things that are not important. Do you see what I mean? Like you have parties bickering up and down about whether should a girl be able to marry at 13? Should somebody be allowed to say? You see what I mean? Like we don't have time for all that. Because our issues are more fundamental. So if it were up to me, I'm about to expose myself. But remove all this nonsense. Forget all of this. Oh, one party versus another party. How many parties are there in Nigeria? There are 15. Okay. Nobody cares. When somebody wants to run and they say, "Oh, I'm not going to be a big man in this party," they take themselves and go to somewhere else. Go and run under 3 different parties. So this political whatever democracy in some instances, truthfully speaking, I feel like it doesn't work. Now, what I was taught in development management, what they said was sometimes authoritarian regimes can be good for sudden change, and that's what I believe. Now, am I going to sit here and be like, yeah, well, it's going to be perfect, and they're just going to come and make all this? Not really. You also need the right conditions under which that will happen. Because you can have a dictator come in, all he wants to do is loot the country. He will loot it well. Simple. He will loot it well, and then when he's tired, he will give it to his child or to his uncle or to his brother. But if you have the right conditions, for me personally, I feel like there is the ability to grow well and grow quickly. Do you see what I mean?
And then, so when I think about authoritarian, I think about like my country's past. It's like we were growing to a certain extent until 1973. So it's like when I think of like the one-party system, I feel like if you get the right leader in place, and that's very important, the type of leadership, the type of leader you get in place is very important, and you don't just let anyone just rule the country for that long. And also, when you think about it, there should be a time limit. I think if we're creating a fake world, let's creating a fake world right now.
Okay, let's ideal conditions.
A fake world. I would say that yes, one-party system can work to an extent, but the constitution needs to be so strong, like
to check them.
To check them, and there should be check and balances on them. But then it's like the incentive. I really don't know how to phrase this. I'm not trying to say I'm pro authoritarianism because I'm not. But if we were, I can see the benefit to a certain extent.
Yeah.
If you could have continuity, and I'm only saying that for continuity because I want to talk about long term. If I put in a policy today and I'm out in the next 3 years, 4 years, my policy will not come to fruition until another 8 years.
Yeah.
So the next party that comes after me,
they could be the one to take it, and I don't want that. So.
No, it's not. I would love, because the thing is, when you put policy forward, it's not about yourself or your glory. It's supposed to be for the country and the people and the continuity of seeing their growth. Because and when I leave power, I'm still going to live in this country. That's the mentality you have to think. I'm still going to live here. So I want a country that works. I want a country that benefits me and a country that I can, you know what I mean. So for me, like when you think of like authoritarian leaders, it's really, 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 really. It's the line between crazy and psycho.
The line between good and bad.
It's very
thin. And you have to be careful because anything can topple them over. Anything could just make them.
But then what I always argue is that I don't like this idea that a lot of people, when you think of authoritarian regimes, there's always like the one person. Like that idea of having the one person, for me personally, does not encourage people to see otherwise. Like the people living. Because if you think that this is the one promised person, you won't imagine a world or a country where things are working well without them. And we always have to remember that it's a party, it's not only them. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though, like, for example, I always talk about Kagame because it's very controversial, people don't agree. Like, it's a party, you know what I mean? It can't just be him, and I think that's the thing that we have to move past, because if I can't imagine a Rwanda without Kagame, then there's a problem. You know what I mean?
I think that's also one thing that I agree with, like in terms, because usually when we talk about like having like an authoritarian, like I've had my own times when I'm like, listen, we just need somebody to line it all and set you straight, like, but like when you think about it, it shouldn't really be about the person, about one individual, because we say we should have checks and balances. So fundamentally, we still go back to these institutions that will keep them in check. And I think that's what needs to be fixed, because that's the thing that runs through every other thing, that impacts everything, everyone else, no matter who comes into power. So you have Donald Trump, your boy. Like, literally, if these institutions did not exist, I don't want to know what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? So I think, like, at the very core, that's something that we need to agree on. And I feel like the level that a lot of African countries are at, honestly, if we put aside the bickering and the banter or whatever, and it comes down to the basis, opposition A, opposition B, you should be able to agree on the very fundamentals of things. But I think that's what people fail to miss, because it should be about me, or we think this, and when one person comes to power, we need to reverse everything and change. Like, it doesn't work. It's so stupid. And it's like, we don't have time to be talking about these things right now. You need to come down to the very level. If it's coalition building that you need to be involved in, you go right ahead. But you need to build, because if it doesn't exist, it don't matter who you bring into power. They will just screw things over in 8 years, and we go back and I need to reverse everything that this person did. And you get what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, authoritarian rule will be cool and everything sometimes, but like, we need to fix these things at like the level where it has the potential to check people, like the people in power and also the population as a whole.
It has power. I think a civil society in a lot of countries don't have power. Like, you have a constitution, but when it's time for the constitution to play a part, and the people are demanding for the constitution to play its part, then you have the government really just stamping on that. And like you're saying, the basics are not even there. So if the government itself that implements this constitution is not following it,
and we have to also, like, I always try to look at like case by case, because we're always trying to replicate what this country has done. And it's like, if this works for this country, good for them, and like, let's try to learn, but not like
Exactly.
Yeah.
And God, like copy, like my mom says. Why you copy?
But that's one reason why I'm sort of hopeful though, because I feel like the literature around development is changing quite a bit. We're getting to the more like contextual, like it really depends on your country. There's sort of these preconditions or fundamentals that they claim we should have. Sometimes even those preconditions are questionable because really, if your culture is different, there's no way it would work. But I feel like the literature is changing a lot too. It really depends on the country, like what's on the ground, what they have at the moment, and how best you can make use of like people's capabilities and stuff like that too. That's the only reason why I'd say I'm like super hopeful about development, because I got to a point where I was like, just go start your business and help them help their family, because listen, like, you know, but I think it's changing and it's a momentum that we all need to jump on and stuff like that. But I think leadership in Africa is changing a little bit though. We're having some people that are saying some pretty bold things. I mean, I would like to see them put some work behind the talk. But like, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yes. Africa as a continent to get somewhere, there's a lot of work that we need to do on the continent as a whole. Like, it's almost hard to imagine that you can't really do that much business. Literally, it's more expensive to ship things to like from like our coast to South Africa than it is to go to like I did. Are we mad? You know, like. We really need to put a lot of investment into connecting our country so we can tap into those markets, because literally, like, there's this thing where it's like 2030 we're going to have the largest youth population, and if those people don't have work, the whole entire world is screwed. Like, where everybody is going down. We can barely handle, you know, what we have right now, but if you have people that are frustrated, the extremist groups who are ready to take advantage of people that need to get out of the system but can't seem to get out of it. So there's like a lot at stake right now. But I think Africa, though, like, we need to do a lot in terms of working with each other. But like, if you're getting a better deal from someone else, why would they want to work with you? And it's like, why will I pay for like a railroad that you need because you're landlocked and I have a seat? It's not really in my interest.
It's not really in my interest.
So it's very tricky. But
it is. But the thing is, like, speaking of this, this is something I just want to gripe in general. In terms of that transport around Africa, it's always confused me why it's so difficult. Tell me why.
We're talking about these things.
No one talks about it. Why is it more expensive for me to fly from here to Accra than it is for me to fly from London to Paris? Tell me, does that make sense? Because the thing, I feel like Africans really, really need to move yourself inside. Does that make sense? No, like, there's this thing that my mom used to tell me: stop looking outside because it will make you lose yourself. Does that make sense? Well, everybody is so invested in competing with each other on a global scale that no one is looking at the potential that we have, looking inwards.
That's what they're telling us. Like, that's what's out there. Like, everybody is competitive to the edge. And so we feel like we need to be. So working with you is a little,
I think the word that one of our lecturers used was expectations, since the world is so global. Our expectations are different from like other generations. So like, you see things on TV and you're like, oh my god, you know, instead of looking, I guess, within.
But I would just like to say, based on what Kenny said, but there's nothing wrong with actually learning from others. I think you have to be smart in what you learn, because obviously, like, but you have to be realistic that there's no one size fits all for all African countries in the US. So this is the hardest part, because if it was easy, if there was one solution for every African country, so I think you have, because if you look at the East Asian country, they were smart in actually learning from others, learning what to copy. But that's you have to learn what to copy.
That's the thing.
Because we are the ones who understand the reality economically, socially, politically, in our countries, right? But there are good things from outside too, which are being implemented. And we can ask for those people that technical, the thing we lack, right? And then try to, the middle, you have to be pragmatic in what you implement. So I think this is where we can learn from others. The thing we lack, we do really lack technical and other skills, right? Those capabilities, but also because those are not the people who are going to come implement that. They don't know the reality. So I think, we need to to learn how to appreciate what others did well and how we can, play that in our situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not going to be working the same way in every country because of many different things.
See, I think
So-
the thing I was thinking about when I asked the question was sort of things like, making sure our youth are skilled workers.
Yes.
Not just education, but like they know how to, work in the IT fields. Like setting up institutions for them to be skilled workers, and I don't know how to explain, but just have skills that are transferable. To the market and things like that.
But how do you define even development?
Right? There's only one definition of
There isn't.
There isn't.
There isn't. It depends.
It really depends on who you're talking to, and to be honest,
And that's
Because
a
I don't
problem in
think
itself.
development is like an end. It's probably a mean to something.
Or maybe
different.
it's a
continuing
continuing process.
Yeah.
Because truthfully speaking, even the countries that we talk about
are still
developed are just further along in the developing process than we are. No one has stopped. Do you see what I mean? Which is why I feel like developing countries is a little bit of a misnomer because we're all developing. We're just, it's a spectrum and it doesn't end.
and we are stuck at the same place.
Yes. The thing is, like, it's a spectrum and it doesn't end, so it's extending. The thing is, people are moving at a rate that we are not. Does that make sense? So it looks as though we're not moving, but we're moving, just not at the rate of everyone else. That's what our problem
Because we're
is.
not moving the way that we should, not necessarily the way that we should, because a lot of the countries that are, doing well, I think the narrative probably maybe is, slightly different for a couple of countries now, because they've gained that understanding of shifting away from that monoculture type economy, where it's one thing, but like, we say we are moving, or like this Nigeria made this, like the revenue is gaga, all these things. Like, the moment the price of that one thing goes down, hello, where are you?
That's what I mean.
So, like, we just need to figure out a way to move in a way that is sustainable.
Yes.
Like, something that can
And
expand.
sustainable for us.
Right?
Sustainable for us.
That's what I mean.
No, because there's a lot of expectations put on Africa as a continent that we should have done or we should be doing at this point. And the thing is, looking at SAPs, we have already determined that you shouldn't really be telling us what to do because you destroy it in the process. People are going to... The thing is, this is the same with human beings. People are going to do what they're going to do when they're ready. A child may start speaking at 5. Does that mean that they've done something wrong because they didn't speak at 2? Not really. You know what I mean? So I feel like instead of... Which is why I feel like the comparison to the East Asian tigers always gets to me a bit. Is we have to find what works for us at a rate that works for us. Now, like I said before, with the moving target, it makes it difficult, obviously. But we have to figure it out, not by ourselves, obviously with help. But it has to be African-led.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like, obviously, this stuff from above coming to fix it it's not working out at all.
It hasn't for so
Here you go.
long.
But I think talking a little bit like about your question though, like I do think I don't even know how to say an education that fits for this first century world looks like, because no one even knows what that looks like. Like, literally things are changing so quickly. But I think at the core it really is that those annoying words that almost have to show up on resumes and things. Like, people need to be able to problem solve, creative thinking and stuff like that. But I think those things are important. Unfortunately, in a lot of our country, I don't know about all of you guys, but Ghana, we roast land for our lives. Like, chew and pour. I don't know if you
Yes,
like
of
shoot, if you get a degree, like, you could very well get a degree in chew and pour. And that doesn't do a lot for you, because when the context or the situation shifts, then you're almost like, oh my god, I don't know what to do.
That's the thing.
We need to change sort of our curriculum in a way that people can actually think for themselves. Because I actually really do believe in like the power of like education and shifting like so many things. It's not even just about jobs. Like it legitimately could be about all of that. You may not have like a democracy, but if you have sort of an educational system that teaches a little bit about equality, treating people right and stuff like that, you can easily shift like what people think in terms of their culture, like social rights, in like 10, 15 years. It may not be a year, but it will take a while. So I really do think we need to put a lot into that. Like we do a lot with education and stuff, but no one really measures the quality, like the outcome of that. And in a lot of countries, Ghana for one, like private schools are flying out everywhere. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a product of one of those things, but like some of the fees that you are charging for some of these things,
it makes it inaccessible.
Like, it makes it inaccessible. And you are still doing this perpetual cycle with the same elite, because the same kids are the ones that can afford those things, and then people are left behind. So that's what the idea of the state can't step out of these things and pay them for the price, because the private sector is profit, no matter what you do. But I really do think we need to pay particular attention to like education as a whole, and how we do that, like how we get people to a position where they can sort of think for themselves. People talk about computers coming. I mean, that's a valid point, right? Especially when it comes to Africa, like right, the skills that we have, like what's her name, Sophia the robot. She'll beat you to everything at this point that we are right now. That we need to think and prepare for some of these things, because when it comes to like the thinking, but they have some skill, but like there's nothing more than a human who can actually own those parts in your brain.
I think that there's, like I mentioned yesterday at our talk, there's a huge gap with this idea that the type of education that we need. There's so many young people right now who have this certificate for the diploma that they did, but then really because of the quality of the education or what's available in the market,
it's not adaptable.
It's not adaptable.
It's not adaptable.
So I think we need to stop pushing for like higher education, as much as that sounds bad, and start like and because it's like everyone deserves the right to higher education, but we need to put labor in like specific parts of the economy. Like we can't all just be getting higher degrees and all be sitting with our development studies, and then we're like, okay, I'm still, you know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, I think there's a huge gap, because we've been sold, like personally for me, my parents were like, you need to get an education, it's the only way out, which is hard to tell someone who's been told this all their lives. Like, wait, you actually don't, need to come out. And it's very hard, but then it's like, I think also with that education, like the type of education that we are getting,
To some extent as well, also goes with like the ability to create like jobs and opportunities. Like I think, like I don't know, like those of you in like African development, when you was talking about, like even if you're having some sort of a deal with like a foreign company or whatever, creating those like what do you call it? Value chain, supply chain, whatever. So either it's backward or forward. So you're creating opportunities for people to develop businesses around whatever investment you're bringing. So you expand things like more than you're just like, I'm just bringing, like a company that's going to employ 2,000 people.
And I think he gave an example of like medical sales in Ethiopia, where they taught like 30 people to produce these things, and then like the spillover effect, right? And I think that's the problem, because a lot of FDIs, even when people talk about the fact that China is investing in African countries, they bring with their own Chinese people, and there's spillover of learning is not there.
So thank you so much for sharing your opinions. This has been really good. I want to do this again.
Yes.
Party. Thank you, Nana.
All right. Are you gonna get me free now?